Technology, Sri Lanka's only super fast internet connection. SLT Fiber. Call 1212.
Tonight, I am who I am. While disregarding foreign concerns on his appointment, Shavindra Silva assures he is Army Commander to all of Sri Lanka.
I'm not Army Commander to any ethnicity. I'm the Commander of the Army to protect each and every Sri Lankan.
It is a no-no. UN Special Rapporteur comments on the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act in Sri Lanka, says it is in violation of international human rights standards.
Based on patriarchal readings of Sharia law, the MMDA violates international human rights standards, including those formulated in the UN Convention on Discrimination against Women.
Decisive talks. As another round of SLF-PSLPP talks scheduled, Podujana Perumuna not ready to talk about presidential candidate, but SLFP Central Committee decides to field a candidate. Losing patience. Leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance, Manu Ganeshan, critical about UMP's delay in nominating the presidential candidate. All this and much more coming up on First at 9 this Monday, the 26th of August 2019.
Nava Lifebuoy Cool Fresh සහ Lemon Fresh Menthol සහ Lemon සාරයෙන් 10 ගඳ ඇති කරන සංගුණ විස බීජ වලින් ආරක්ෂා කර ඔබව fresh කරයි. විස බීජ off, fresh එක on.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. On your top story tonight, UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief Ahmad Shahid today said in Colombo that the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act implemented in Sri Lanka is in violation of international human rights standards, including the UN Special Rapporteur, who concluded his 12-day official visit to the island today, also raised concerns regarding several issues, including on weak protection for the right to propagate one's religion or belief in Sri Lanka. Shahid, who is to present his final report to the Human Rights Council in Geneva in March next year, met with the government officials, representatives of religious or belief communities, civil society organizations and the UN during this visit.
I received reports of many new initiatives for promoting reconciliation and peaceful coexistence. I note in this regard the establishment last year of a select committee in Parliament to study and report on communal and religious harmony. Also at the grassroots level, I have seen active religious leaders coming together across different faiths to promote inter-religious harmony in their areas. The key concerns present to me in Sri Lanka relate to weak protections for the right to propagate one's religion or belief. Opposition to proselytism was framed as emerging as insult to other religions or causing disharmony or exploitation of vulnerable persons. Another concern raised to me linked to lack of clear guidelines for registration of organizations that advance religion or places of worship. A more widely expressed concern identified discrimination in law and in practice based on religion or belief. Many noted that the provisions of Article 9 of the Constitution, which states that Buddhism should be given the foremost place, casts a long shadow over constitutional guarantees of equality in matters of religion or belief in Articles 10, 14, 1E, and Article 12. Of course, international law does not prohibit the adoption of a state religion. However, it does require the state to be an impartial guarantor of the rights of all individuals, regardless of their religion or belief, within their jurisdiction. State officials assured me that the provision of Article 9 to give foremost position to Buddhism does not amount to discrimination towards other communities. Well, I heard of impunity for serious incidents of incitement to violence, such as those that led to the Alathagama riots in 2014. Women's experiences of ethno-religious hostility, including violence, displacement, and stereotyping, do not receive attention or redress. Many of the conspiracy theories and tropes about Muslims target women in their reproductive capacity. The application of the MMDA has long been a subject of concern for those advocating for gender equality. Based on patriarchal readings of Sharia law, the MMDA violates international human rights standards, including those formulated in the UN Convention on the Discrimination against Women. I received reports that the government refused to acknowledge the order of bhikkhuni nuns. Bhikkhunis are not permitted to have their ordination on their national ID cards, whereas bhikkhus are afforded this privilege. For present time, I have called on the government that it must prosecute those responsible for violence and incitement to violence and make efforts to dismantle networks of hate and facilitate access to justice to victims of hate crimes. I also have called upon the state to develop systems and mechanisms to monitor and respond to hate crimes in conformity with international human rights standards. Government leaders and faith-based leaders must speak out against hateful narratives and reject efforts to ostracize and stigmatize minority communities and persons in vulnerable situations. Urgent reforms are required to the education system that must foster inclusive identities. The social media platforms should invest more in the ability to monitor and respond to incitement to violence while protecting the right to freedom of religion and access to information.
Commander of Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva, assures that he is the army commander to all communities of the country and vowed to do his utmost to protect every civilian. Addressing media today ahead of the Colombo Defence Seminar, the army commander made it clear that international criticism about his appointment was unwarranted.
The Colombo Defence Seminar 2019 will be held on Thursday and Friday this week on the theme Evolving Military Excellence in the Contemporary Security Landscape. Prominent national and international scholars, heads of think tank and diplomats from all across the globe will contribute their ideas to optimize the discourse.
General, following your appointment as the commander of the army, there were serious concern expressed by some countries from the international community and UN.
Of course, countries can have concerns due to various reasons. But His Excellency the President has appointed me as the commander of the army. I'm sure he would have considered the requirement of the nation. So we'll look forward and we'll see. We go forward and see how it is going to be.
Commander, some groups and reports have accused you of some war crimes. What's your response to that, their accusations?
If anyone can make any allegations. This is not only the very first time that I made these allegations. We also have heard the allegations about the Manna mass grave. And later on, it was proven beyond doubt. Nothing happened thereafter. So it's like that allegations can come in.
If the Tamil people have a misgiving or have some concerns about your appointment and these allegations, as you say, how would you reassure them that you would be their army commander as well?
Of course, I am not army commander to any ethnicity. I am the commander of the army to protect each and every Sri Lankan. I treat them equal. We have respected each community. That's how we respected even during the conflict period, during the humanitarian operation.
The Palali Airport in Jaffna, which is being renovated to be uplifted as a regional airport, is set to open during October this year. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today chaired a progress review meeting with relevant ministers at the Temple Trees on the airport renovation. Meanwhile, advisor to the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Sudarshan Gunawardena, said that 30% of work on the airport has been completed. The Palali Airport in Jaffna is among 3 domestic airports which the government aims to transform into a regional airport to service flights to India and gradually expand air routes to other destinations. According to the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, the total investment for renovation of the Jaffna-Palali Airport Development Project is 2.25 billion rupees. The government has allocated 1.95 billion rupees for the project and India has provided a grant to the tune of 300 million rupees. The Palali Airport is being renovated under 3 phases, with the first commencing earlier this year to extend the 950-meter runway up to 1.3 kilometers. The government also announced earlier this year that passenger flight operations between India and Sri Lanka were to commence this month. Just last week, however, Minister of Tourism Development John Amaratunga said that constructions of the Palali International Airport will be completed by the end of this month. As questions were raised whether the opening of the Palali Airport can be expected at all this month, advisor to the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs Sudarshan Gunawardena said 30% of work on the airport is now complete. Meanwhile, discussions were held between Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Arjuna Ranatunga, Minister of Foreign Affairs Tilak Marapana, TNA MP Zemme Sumandiran and Mave Senadi Raja on the opening of the airport.
At the meeting, it was revealed that more than 30% of the work has been now completed and the work is ahead of the schedule. So at the moment, they are working on to get the immigration, customs and quarantine services negotiated into the premises. Also to get the water supply restored. The authorities are expected to complete the work by mid-October. So it was tentatively agreed that the soft opening could be done by 15th of October. The idea was to actually operate this as a regional airport where the flights from the Indian airports would fly initially, especially focusing on Tuticorin and such other airports as an initial step. Also, the domestic flights will also fly from Colombo and other locations.
A crucial discussion between Sri Lanka Freedom Party members is currently underway at the official residence of President Maithripala Sirisena on the proposed alliance with Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna. Meanwhile, speaking at media briefing earlier today, Chairman of SLPP, Professor G.L. Peiris said the question of another presidential candidate will not be taken up during alliance talks with the SLFP tomorrow, as the SLPP has already fielded its candidate. The comments came at a time when the SLP Central Committee has decided to nominate their own.
නෑ අපි තවම එහෙම අවසාන නිගමනයකට එළඹිලා නැහැ. ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය තීන්දුවක් මධ්‍යම කාර්ය සභාව අරගෙන තියෙනවා අපේක්ෂයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. ඒ වගේම පොදුජන පෙරමුණ දැන් අපේක්ෂයක් නම් කරලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ එක අපේක්ෂකයෙකුට ඉදිරිපත් කළ ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්න. ඒ නිසා අපි පොදුජන පෙරමුණත් සමග සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. ඒ වගේම දැන් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙන ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමත් සමගත් සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. අපිට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් තියෙන්නේ පුද්ගලයෙක් පිළිබඳ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි. රට ගොඩනගන වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්න පුළුවන් ආකාරයට එකඟතාවයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට මේ අපේක්ෂකයා පිළිබඳව සලකා බලන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙයි.
සමහර යම් ප්‍රචාරමාන මේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයට සහයෝගය දෙන්න.
නෑ අපි හැම තවම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කිසිම කෙනෙක් එක සාකච්ඡා කරලත් නෑ. එහෙම තීන්දුවක් අරගෙනත් නෑ.
දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණෙන් අපේක්ෂකේ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරලා තියෙන නිසා අපිට දැන් සිද්ධ වෙනවා ඒක අනුව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න. කිසිසේත්ම ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ එජාප සමග සන්දානගත වෙලා ඒගේ අපේක්ෂකයාට වාසියක් වෙන වැඩ කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මම හිතනවා සුබවාදී තත්යකට මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමාත් ගෝඨාභය මැතිතුමාත් එක්ක අපිට ඉස්සරහට වැඩ කරගෙන යාමට හැකියාවක් ලැබෙයි කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Representing Sri Lanka Freedom Party, its General Secretary Dayasiri Jayasekara, Deputy Chairman Mahinda Amaraveera and Deputy Secretary Lasantha Alagiyawanna will join talks with the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna scheduled for tomorrow. On the SLPP side, its national organizer Basil Rajapaksa, Party Chairman Professor G.L. Peiris and MP Dallas Alahap Peruma will sit for the talks. Meanwhile, comments were also aired by the SLPP during a media briefing today.
නාදිපති අපේක්ෂකයා පිළිබඳ ප්‍රශ්නයක් හෙට සාකච්ඡා කිරීමේ කිසිම ප්‍රයෝජනයක් නැහැ. අපේ අපේක්ෂකයා අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙනවා. හෙට සාකච්ඡා වෙන්නේ කොහොමද ඒකට වැඩ කරන්නේ? කොහොමද අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ප්‍රතිඵලය ලබා ගන්නේ? ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තමයි අපි හෙට සාකච්ඡා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. එතෙක් දුරට පැවතිච්ච සාකච්ඡා වලින් සෑහෙන ප්‍රායෝගික ප්‍රගතියක් අපි ලබාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
Leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance, Minister Manu Ganeshan, is critical about the UMP's delay in nominating their presidential candidate, saying coalition parties of the UMP-led National Democratic Front have run out of patience. Meanwhile, diverging views were expressed by members of the UMP regarding their presidential candidate.
To AdaDerana today, leader of Tamil Progressive Alliance Manu Ganesan said that the level of patience of members of coalition parties of the National Democratic Front is coming to an end due to the split in the UNP on the matter of presidential candidacy. Meanwhile, several other members of the UNP responded to media about the party's presidential candidate.
අපිට පේන්නේ මිනිස්සු ඉල්ලන්නේ වැඩියෙන්ම රටේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා. ඒ ගැන කතා කරා. කණ්ඩායම් රැස්වීමේදීත් කතා කරා. ඒක තමයි ඇත්ත තත්ත්වය. මොකද මේකේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ හදවත මේ රටේ මිනිස්සු ඉල්ලන දේ දෙන්න ඕනේ.
හැබැයි ජාතික සංවිධායක නවීන් දිසානායක මහත්තයා කිව්වා අපේ පක්ෂේ 3 දෙනෙක් නම් යෝජනා වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒකින්ද කඩ පිළිවෙල, අගු පිළිවෙල ඉල්ලීම් කරන්න එපා. ඒ 3 දෙනා එකතු වෙලා එක තීරණයක් ගමු කියලා. මොකක්ද?
3 දෙනා නෙවෙයි 4 දෙනෙක් කියලා. සරත් ෆොන්සේක මහත්තයාත් ඉල්ලනවා.
එතන දැන් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස එමතුමාට සහාය බල කරන්න එයා එහෙම මොකක් හරි න්‍යායපත්‍රයක ගමනක් යනවත් නෙවෙයිනේ. පක්ෂය අනුමත කරපු වැඩක යෙදිලා නැහැ මේ වෙලාවේ. එතකොට සහාය පළ කරනවා කියලා මොනවට පළ කරනවද කියලා අපිට තේරුම් ගන්න අමාරුයි. නමුත් පක්ෂ නායකයා පක්ෂයේ විනය ඒවා හෙලා දක්වමින් වැඩ කරනවා නම් එහෙම නැති අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මට්ටම් බලන්නේ නැතුව සියලු දෙනාට එක හා සමානව නීතිය විනය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න ඕන.
ඒෂා විධානගේ තරුණ මන්ත්‍රීවරයා ප්‍රකාශ කර සිටියා මේ 30 වෙනිදා වෙද්දී ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකම සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතාට ලබා නොදුන්නොත් පක්ෂය ඇතුලේ මැති ඇමතිවරු රාජ්‍ය ඇමතිවරු විශාල පිරිසක් ඉවත් වී සිටින්න අදහස් කර තිබෙනවා කියලා. ඒ කතාව ඇත්ත නැත්ද මොකක්ද?
නෑ කට්ටියක් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස එක්ක මේ වෙනකොටත් ඒ කැරැල්ලේ ඉන්නවනේ. ඒ අරෙන්න අනිත් බහුතරයක් අපි පක්ෂ ව්‍යවස්ථාවත් එක්ක අගමැතිතුමත් එක්ක පක්ෂ නායකයාත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන මතයක තමයි ඉන්නේ. පක්ෂයේ ගන්න තීන්දුව තීරණ අනුව එහෙම වැඩ කරන්න බැරි නම් ඒ වගේ අය ඉල්ලා අස්සන එකත් හොඳයි. මගේ මතය නම් පක්ෂයෙන්ම යන එක හොඳයි වගේ කට්ටිය.
මේ මාසේ 30 වෙනකොට අපි අපේ මේ රටේ අනාගත ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ නම ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
මේකනේ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය ඡන්දයේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි හරියට නියමිත වෙලාවට අපි නම් කරනවා. යම් අය ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතුව මතේ කිසිම පක්ෂේ විනයක් නැතුව කටයුතු කරන යන අපට දුක් වෙනවා විතරයි. යම් අයට හදිසි වුණා කියලා ඒක තුලින් අනිසි ලෙස කටයුතු කරන පක්ෂය නෙමෙයි එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය.
Leader of the Pivituru Hela Urumaya parliamentarian Udaya Gamanpila argues against recent opinion expressed that second and third preferential votes will play a crucial role in deciding the next head of state. Gamanpila alleges that the statements are baseless and that if the presidential candidate with the highest number of votes is unable to secure 50% of votes cast, the candidate can still be named president-elect.
The JVP, which supported the UNP presidential candidate at the last two presidential elections, have now decided to field their own candidate. This decision would cost the UNP at least 700,000 votes. Therefore, pro-UNP election monitoring NGOs are spreading a myth that no candidate would be able to reach the 50% milestone at the forthcoming presidential election, and therefore it is essential to mark the second and third preferences at the presidential poll. Both these statements are baseless. According to presidential election law, if no candidate is able to obtain more than 50% of the votes, second and third preferences should also be counted and added to the two main candidates. But through our own experience, we know that we have never marked preferences at the presidential poll. In this backdrop, Election Commission will be compelled to declare the person who has obtained the highest number of votes as the winner, even if he has not obtained 50%. There is no such legal requirement. This is a myth spread by these NGOs. I challenge them to quote the relevant provisions in the law which says it is essential to obtain 50% of votes to become the president.
We will now go into a short commercial break, so stay tuned for more news right after that. Colombo equities closed weaker today in the fourth continuous session. The benchmark index ended 0.28% lower at 5,881.72. Foreign investors sold net 12.9 billion rupees worth of government securities in the week ending August 21st, the worst weekly outflow in 8 months, and the year-to-date net foreign outflow was at 40.9 billion rupees. Let's take a look at a brief report on today's equity market.
With the commencement of the week, the secondary market yield curve remained broadly unchanged with the limited activities and low volume. And moreover, in the belly-ended yield curve, the foreign selling 1626 and 1826 traded in the range of 10.05 to 10.11%. And stock market regaining the apathic trading sentiment for a fourth trading session, dragged down by Hema Soldic and Bookie. And volume was recorded over the 1.5 months low, while net foreign outflow was witnessed with a moderate foreign participation.
Meanwhile, the US dollar strengthened today, recovering from overnight losses after the United States and China sought to ease trade war tensions. US President Donald Trump, on the sidelines of the G7 summit of world leaders in France, said Chinese officials had contracted US trade counterparts overnight and offered to return to the negotiating table. Chinese Vice Premier Liu He, who had been leading The talks with Washington said China was willing to resolve the trade dispute through calm negotiations. In overnight trade prior to these remarks, Chinese yuan had fallen to 11-year low in the onshore market. The currency market had been reacting to Trump's announcement on Friday of an additional 5% duty on $550 billion in targeted Chinese goods, hours after Beijing unveiled retaliatory tariffs on $75 billion worth of US products, sending stocks into a tailspin and investors rushing for the safety of bond markets. The Sri Lankan rupee ended slightly firmer today, ending a 5-session losing streak, but worries over further foreign outflows after the central bank cut key monetary policy rates weighed on sentiment. The rupee ended 0.2% firmer at 179.70 cents per dollar, compared with Friday's close of 179 rupees from 80 to 180 rupees to 30 cents. It was the first gain in 6 sessions. The currency, however, is still up 1.7% this year. Here's a look at the day's foreign exchange rates. International leaders at the G7 summit have agreed to provide logistical and financial support to help fight fires in the Amazon forest. French President Emmanuel Macron said G7 countries would release $22 million. The agreement came as the leaders of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US continued to meet in Biarritz in France. Macron said the funds would be made available immediately, primarily to pay for more firefighting planes, and that France will also offer concrete support with military in the region within the next few hours. President Macron last week described the fires as an international crisis and pushed for them to be prioritized at the G7 summit, which his country is hosting. G7 leaders also intend to discuss plans to reforest the Amazon at the United Nations General Assembly meeting in September. Meanwhile, Indonesia is set to move its capital city from the climate-threatened megapolis of Jakarta to the sparsely populated island of Borneo at the cost of $33 billion. The current capital, Jakarta, home to more than 10 million people, is slowly shrinking into the sea by as much as 25 centimeters a year, and almost half now sits below sea level. President Joko Widodo said the move was necessary because the burden on Jakarta was too heavy. But environmentalists said the relocation needed to be carefully handled, or it would result in fleeing one ecological disaster only to create another. The new capital, which is yet to be named, would be built in a jungle-draped area on the east of Borneo Island in the province of East Kalimantan, near the coastal cities of Balikpapan and Samarinda, where the government already owns about 440,000 acres. Environmentalists fear the move will hasten the destruction of forests that are home to orangutans, sun bears and long-nosed monkeys, as well as increasing pollution already on the rise from coal mining and palm oil industries. Officials say they want the new capital to be a smart city in the forest and have set aside 180,000 hectares of government land. The European Union expects Britain to honour all financial obligations made during its membership of the bloc even after a no-deal Brexit. Spokeswoman for the European Union, Mina Andreeva, said, quote, all commitments that were taken by the 28 member states should be honoured. This is also and especially true in a non-deal scenario where the United Kingdom would be expected to continue to honour all commitments made during EU membership, unquote. Her comments come at a time when British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said yesterday that if Britain leaves without a divorce deal, it will no longer legally owe $47.88 billion agreed by his predecessor Theresa May to the European Union. Johnson has vowed to take Britain out of the EU on the 31st of October with or without an agreement to manage the unprecedented divorce and the expected economic fallout. We will now go into a short commercial break and we will join with sports news right after that. Stay tuned. New Zealand levelled the Test Series 1-all, defeating Sri Lanka by an innings and 65 runs in Colombo today. Resuming the day on 382 for 5, the Kiwis continued to score 49 more runs and declared on 431 for 6. Coming in for the second innings, the Sri Lankan batting order was rattled by New Zealand bowlers as the hosts were bowled out for just 122 runs. Niroshan Dickwalla was the top scorer for Sri Lanka with a knock of 51. Bolt, Saudi, Patel and Somerville picked 2 wickets each, leading the Kiwis to victory. Ben Stokes produced one of Test cricket's greatest ever innings yesterday to steer England to a memorable victory and level the Ashes series against Australia 1-all. Chasing 359 at Headingley, the home side still needed 73 when Stokes was joined by last man Jack Leach. Similar to his World Cup innings at Lord's, Stokes launched a stunning solo assault, scoring an unbeaten knock of 135. The series is now level with 2 matches to play, with the 4th test at Old Trafford beginning on 4th September. And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.